Hi guys, and welcome to February's heist. This has been clearly the best month for me so far, especially comparing the other months that I had with Breakout, even comparing it to January, December, and so on. This was a 6.1k amount of dollars month. That's pretty good. This is the first month that I traded two funded accounts, 50k funded accounts at the same time in parallel, and I would like to share with you my review of my journal and to see exactly how the trades went. And so let's just get into it instantly. Obviously, we had a big drop to 60k at the start of February. That actually yielded my second 50k funded account. And so I will leave you the video right there with the trade that I took back then. I think, if I remember correctly, it was 8.61%. And it was a great trade, obviously. But then I was left with the long that I took on the 6th of February. So this trade I started at 63.4k just because that was a very important level for me. It was a bit of a falling knife long, a bit of a falling knife long, but at that point, to be honest, we have dropped a lot during the start of February, and so I expected a relief bounce, which we did get, but it might be that my entry was a bit too soon. Obviously, you can never time your entries perfectly, and I never try to have them timed perfectly. This was a trade that I took on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Injective, and it was a plus 3.07%. It was pretty good. It was really good, but obviously I only show the trade for Bitcoin because that's the one that I am basing the others on as well. So when I'm closing the trade for Bitcoin, I'm usually closing the others as well. And so I started at 63.4. We had the big drop to 60k that happened at midnight at that point, and it was a bit worrisome, but my stop loss was at 58k, which was fine. And then when I saw that we started moving sharply higher on the 7th, on the 6th, I started buying into strength, right? So we moved past the overnight high, and then obviously it was a Friday, and so the price action at the end of the day was going to be a bit choppy. I actually closed the trade after I took 3 compounds on this trade, so I had 0.4 position. I closed the trade at 70.4. This 0.1 compound here at 71.2 was actually a type C idea, which I expected to either get a small profit on or just get a small loss on, which I actually did. So I closed this trade right here at 0.4 at 70.4k. So this was the first trade of February for me. It was extremely good, 3% already, and that's great for me. I started the month on the right foot. Obviously, with the short that I took down to like 67k, that brought me the second account. But then with also waiting patiently, or relatively patiently, because you can probably keep in mind that you can wait for the price to put in a week to just hover around a bit more, and then it could have taken the long from 63k. Good trade overall. Maybe the first entry was a bit not conservative enough. Let's keep it like that. The second trade was actually taken on the Friday evening, the same Friday evening. I took a short just because of the fact that I had a pretty good invalidation at 72.2k, which was the top of the, it was a weekend price action high, and was the top of the parallel channel that I was trading. I will show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So this is the top of the channel that, give me a second. This is the top of the channel that I was trading at that point, and this is the channel, the parallel channel that I traded for the whole month of February, which actually was pretty good. So the trade obviously was the one from 60k at that point. We started moving sharply higher, and I put my stop around 72.3k, just not too much out of the ordinary here. This was the stop. We obviously moved sharply higher at that point, but I already took my profit. So I already took my profits at around, let's just delete this so you can see better. So I took my profits at around 67.5 or 68k. Let's see, because I have my my trade. Where was it? So this was the trade, right? We had the trade here, so around 68k I took the trade out. At that point, I just waited to see what the price would give, because obviously this was a Saturday morning profit taking, so I expected to have pretty erratic movement, because it's a weekend price action, so you can expect absolutely anything here. And so I went on to the next week, where when I saw that we actually put this high on the weekend price action high at around 72.3k, which would have actually taken my stop loss on the last trade if I were not to take my profits on the Saturday morning low. It was actually the low of the weekend. I expected that we could actually move higher to 74.5k or 75 or 85, and so I started buying here. Okay, both on Bitcoin and Ethereum I started buying. It wasn't a bad idea. It was a pretty decent idea. So basically I started buying there, and my stop loss was at 66.5k, which actually touched my stop loss here. Yeah, it's a simple stop loss. That's it. Nothing special here. So almost minus 1%. I expected higher, didn't happen. And then when I saw that we are actually having a decent move on the chart, I started trying to think of longs. Why? Because we had a great invalidation at 60k. I was thinking that we will not breach 60k for a while, and so at this point I started buying. Okay, so we had the move, if you're checking here, we had the move to 66.5k, then we moved a bit higher, and then we started moving sharply lower. At this point I said, okay, we should probably start moving higher bit by bit. I started buying at 66.165k, and then I had my stop loss at around 60k. Yes, it's a big stop loss here. So it's a big stop loss because you can't really play with small stop losses in this market. If you're seeing this market, even if you're playing with small stop losses, I mean, I prefer to have smaller positions, which I always do. I have always small positions when I'm trying the market, just to see what's going to happen next. Okay, because I don't know if the price is going up or down. I'm just guessing in the market. I'm wagering a position, and that's it. And so I put on this position. I have started compounding on the next day here, if you're noticing this. So the first side is on 11th of February, then I had it on 12th of February, the first compound, with the stop loss at 65.6k, which actually took my stop. Okay, so this took my stop at this point. When the 12th of February closed and we started with the 13th of February, I only had the first position because I actually took a stop loss here. Yeah, it happened the same on Ethereum. And then what I started doing is I started compounding once I saw that we are actually moving a bit higher compared to this cluster of candles here that were present at the top of the overnight range on the 12th. So what I did was the following. I saw extreme power moving on the overnight range of the 13th of February. So I started moving with the same position, 0.1. I started buying in on strength. And so I had my first position. I had my second position here. My stop loss was 65k under the cluster that actually got me out of the first compound here last time. And so at this point I had two positions, and when I saw that we are moving even higher compared to the cluster that broke the overnight high on the 12th, I started buying again. I started buying again once more and made my position 0.4 at the top of this small range here, and it's probably a bit too much, and it also got me out with a small loss, which is sometimes normal for a type C idea. And so all this trade was out at 68.9k. This was a 1.15% win, and it was good enough for me. Even though obviously I took a stop loss. If I wouldn't have taken the stop loss on both Ethereum and Bitcoin, I would have had a way better win, obviously. but it doesn't matter. Okay, sometimes you just take stops, and that's normal, and I encourage every one of you to take stops from time to time, because this is the discipline of this game. You put your wager into the market, even if it's a compound, even if it's a initial position, you put your stop, you either win the trade or get stopped out. That's it, nothing more. That's very simple. Then we started moving for shorts. It's very important to know exactly where this short moved from. So this is a weekend price action high here that was created at that point, and I will show you exactly what I mean by this. Let me show you very fast. So basically, at this point, we are having this parallel channel that we talked about. The short was exactly from 70.8k here on the 15th of February. So this was the top of the range, right? This was the top of the parallel channel, and the stop loss was around 74.5k, because I thought that we would go lower before hitting that level. And if you are checking this again, let's check. Stop loss 1 was at 74.5k. Then we had the entry, as I said, at the top of the parallel channel and the weekend price action high. And I started averaging the winner once again. I started averaging the winner here once we barely broke the overnight high. And then when I saw that we moved sharply higher on no volume, right, I started averaging in again. I took my trade out at 67.5k with everything that I had, just because of the fact that if I remember correctly, I saw something here. I think it was the middle of the range. So let's see, it was the 16th. So if you're checking the 16th here, it was in the middle of the range. But wait, where was it? Was it here? 16th. Yeah, I think this was it. So we moved sharply lower. Yeah, it was, actually it was, my bad. It was the middle of the range. So this middle of the range, I thought that it will be respected, and it was actually respected. I took all my profits out here because I expected at this point that I can actually just start moving higher from here, and maybe even go to the 74.5k range that I was thinking about. So let's see what trades I had after, because obviously this is a review for February. And okay, let's see. I had another sell apparently. So once we moved higher and we created an overnight range here, I started shorting once I saw that we had no power of moving back to the 70k range zone, right? So on the weekend price action high. So what I did here was I started selling once we moved under the overnight range of the 17th of February. My first stop loss was to the top of the range, right? So to the top of the parallel channel at around 71k. So that was basically kind of around the weekend price action high that I took the former short from. I averaged into the winner once we actually moved down from the overnight range of the 18th of February, and I took all my position out at 66.4, because if I remember correctly, this was also the middle of the channel and I expected the move up. This was one thing, and the second thing is this trade is just hovering too much here and I don't really like that. It wasn't a big winner, but it's fine. It's 0.5%. Then we had longs apparently, and these longs I'm telling you, this didn't really look good. So I started longing once we went from the middle of the channel. I thought that we would actually start moving higher once more. And so at this point I bought at 66.8. I averaged in at 68k, which I think it was not that good, just because of the fact that this was a Friday evening. When it's a Friday evening, I think I should restrain myself from having trades compounded, or maybe even open, but obviously it's not good to compound. I compounded once more in the weekend, which was also bad, and I closed both these compounded positions from Friday evening and Saturday at 68.5, which was extremely good from me. Why? Because at this point we started moving lower, and I actually wanted to move higher here out of the weekend price action, and I bought at 0.1 at 67.6 again. The problem here is that I had both my stop losses at 65k, both from my original position at this point, which I moved from 63 to 65 after I took the 0.2 out 68.5, And the last compound was actually also the stop loss 4 at 65k. So at this point, I took a pretty big loss just because we moved from the weekend price action right down. We just literally went down, and that's fine. I took stop losses once more. That's okay. Sometimes you just can't help it. Sometimes it is what it is. Then I started taking some shorts on Bitcoin because I thought that we would get a continuation out of this range here that we created, of the overnight range that we created after the move down from the weekend price action. If you're checking the last one here, we moved down, and then I wanted to actually short this just because of the fact that I thought that there is not enough power, and there was also the middle side of the parallel channel, which I thought that will act as resistance this time. And so I started moving, I started selling once more at 64.3, and I actually didn't get the move that I wanted. And then I just closed it so I don't lose too much at 0.3 at 64.9. So this was a pretty decent win at this point, but I kind of round trip it, which is actually still good. Not much of a win here. Then I started I started longing once we got to 62.6k here, because it was I saw that a lot of people were extremely bearish, and I saw that there were a lot of shorts going into the market, and this was also the bottom of the parallel channel. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. That 62.6 was actually the bottom of the parallel channel if you're checking it here. So it was extremely good, just because of the fact that we had a clear invalidation, we had a good setup here. A lot of people were bearish, so I was expecting higher. What did we get? We actually got higher on this chart. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. We got higher on this chart. And I actually put in a order into the night to get out of 66k, which was actually pretty close to the overnight high here, overnight range high. And so I had 0.2 taken out at 66k. I also had some Ethereum out and Solana out, whatever. It was a very good win. Now the problem with this very good win is the fact that at this point we were back at the close to the middle of the channel, and so I expected to actually move sharply lower, which you can actually see from here. It didn't happen, but I started selling. So I started selling. The thing is, I started selling at 65.3, which is not the best idea. I took a stop loss already at 68.6, but then at this point I said, okay, I am thinking of the fact that we are not going to break the first weekend price action high in the top of the parallel channel 72.3. If we do that, it's fine. I will take a bigger loss, and that's fine. So I started shorting again. I shorted this. We got sharply higher at around 70k. But then once the overnight range came, I saw that the top of the parallel channel started getting tagged by these orders, right? So at this point, when I saw that the top of the parallel channel, which obviously went lower because of the fact that the points were 72.3, 70.9, and then we actually started pushing to the top of the parallel channel with longs going into the parallel channel top at 68.6. Once we got out of the overnight high, or trying to get out of the overnight high on the 26th of February. And so I started shorting here. I compounded first here. I compounded once more here once I saw that we are actually moving down from the overnight range here. And I started selling once more once we broke down quite aggressively from the 27th. Now, this last 0.1 here at 65.2, which made it a 0.4 Bitcoin position, it wasn't that good, sorry, because once more, I think the Friday price action these days wasn't necessarily consistent enough for me to be extremely aggressive, which I did this time once more. And so obviously after I started selling the fourth position, I moved my stop losses to 68.5 on the first two, just in small profits. Almost nothing, probably with the fees even going on the negative. 67.5 for the third position, and then this one was pretty close at 66.4. I saw a cluster of 4-hour candles, and I said, okay, if we go out of this, it's probable that we actually move higher. We started moving sharply lower on the morning of 28th of February. Obviously, with whatever is happening in the world, maybe not. I expected this, but it wasn't that impulsive. It was good. I closed it at 63.8 just because of the fact that it's once more as it happened in the first part of February, Saturday morning PA. You can never trade it consistently. I just closed my positions, I took my profit, 2.6%, extremely good, on to the next. And so let's get to the review of the thoughts and learnings for February. So I noticed that I had the same amount of ideas compared to January, but way better execution. So this is a big stepping stone for me. I traded the parallel channel properly for the whole month. I explained it exactly how I traded it. It was pretty good from me. It's obviously you can get a parallel channel every month that is respected this nicely, but when you get it, I think it's a gold mine. So still some trades in the weekend price action could have been avoided, not bad. Just could have been more selective, and this is what I'm talking about, especially on Friday evening trades. I think I can be more selective, and I think I can take less trades in the weekend timeline, and I will keep that in mind once more. After winning the big trade, I dropped BTC from 60k, BTC to 60k, along from 63.4 fairly early. Not all bad, since it was a great support level, but the waterfall was very aggressive on the drop to 60k. Could have closed my position. And this is what I talked about when I went into the trade that I took at the start of February, the first trade of the month. It could have taken my long out if I wasn't on small position, which I was, and my stop loss wouldn't have been at 58k, it would have been at 60k. So yeah, I could have probably had a better entry after I saw a bit of a relief. Nevertheless, it was a good trade, and I cannot be mad on that. Very satisfied with my trading while there were news, choppy erratic price action, more uncertainty than usually. So as you know, whatever is happening in the world right now, it was pretty choppy erratic price action, but I had my best month so far with breakout. Need to keep in mind that this was a ranging month with very good outcomes. This was a ranging month. The parallel channel helped me a lot. It's not necessarily my go-to tactic. I'm usually a continuation trader, so it was very good, even though it was a ranging month for me. Closing profits accordingly and being properly aware of closing trades accordingly paid off great. To keep in mind that continuation trades can work properly on a smaller scale as well, and it creates more consistency. So what I meant here is the fact that at this point, I'm thinking about the fact that even in a ranging market, we can get some decent moves that I can trade, as you have seen in this review, with some continuation. So I can compound into them, even though I take my profits a bit smaller and a bit earlier. It doesn't matter, because you're compounding properly, and even though you're not getting a big continuation up of 10-20k USD move, you can still take extreme amounts of profit just by the fact that you're reading the price action properly. Okay, so, and you're not being greedy. That's very important. First month, this was the first month that I traded 250k funded accounts in. First account actually started at 47.6, and I got out around $1,850 out of it, and that's pretty good, because I literally had to go from 47.6 to 50k. So that was, I mean, usually people tilt when they're so low on their account and they're just giving up on them, and I didn't do that. That's really good for me. That's great resilience, and I think it's a great month for the first month trading two accounts of 50k at the same time. And what is the most important thing that I have to keep in mind for this month? It was an extremely good month for me, but need to keep in mind that this was a great month. No need to be overconfident going into March. No need to buy the last 100 account to try for the max allocation on breakout yet. And I think there is at least one more month of stabilizing that is needed to trade with two 50k accounts before I am actually trying to get max allocated with breakout into buying one more 100k and trying to pass it, and trading all three accounts at the same time. So this was my review for February. I hope that it has helped you. I tried to be as explicit as possible, and take care. See you in the next video. Bye.